Hi, my name is Kayla. I am a reference librarian at the Central Library. And one thing that you may not know about me is my roommate in high school was a geology major, and she actually married a geology major. So a lot of my time in college was spent looking for rocks. So I have a collection of rocks that are both ones that I found and of course ones that I bought. I'm going to start with the three different kinds of rocks. There are three main types of rocks. They are sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous. Sedimentary are the ones that you're going to be able to find here because in Waco we have a lot of this rock here. It's limestone. And it's all over the place. You can find, this will be the rock that you find the most out there. And you can also use it as chalk. That's how you can tell limestone. You can actually draw with it because chalk is made out of the same thing. It's calcium carbonate. It's actually also Tums. And then another sedimentary rock is conglomerate. And the way that you know conglomerate is it looks like a whole bunch of different stuff together. So it looks kind of like, you can find some natural conglomerate like this, but you can also find, sometimes in construction sites, you'll find kind of manufactured conglomerate where they put cement with like pebbles. And that's a man-made conglomerate, but it's essentially the same practice. There's pebbles, there's little pieces of other kinds of rocks, and then they're cemented together with sediments over time. And then the next one is metamorphic. Metamorphic rocks they are sedimentary rocks that have been exposed to pressure or heat. That is the main difference between the two of them. And right here I have quartzite, and I have lapis lazuli, which I actually have in my ring. I've got my turquoise and my lapis rings on today, and I've got my sodalite earrings. Of course, this one is bought. As you can tell, it's been polished. And of course, this one isn't. And then the final type of rocks are igneous. Igneous rocks came from magma or lava. So they're going to look like a rock version of lava. This is basalt. It was either magma or, this came from New Mexico, so it was probably a volcano. This is called gabbro. Scoria was ash that's turned into rock, so they're very light. If you have pumice, which is another kind of igneous rock, and I don't have a piece of pumice, it actually floats in water. And sometimes you can find scoria even here in Waco. They use it in landscaping. So you may run across a garden somewhere that has this kind of rock in it. Of course, don't take it, but you can pick it up and look at it and then put it back. But every once in a while you can run across that in a garden. And then I've got obsidian. This is obsidian naturally. And then there's a polished obsidian. And you can see through it, it's a glass. So those are examples of the three kinds of rocks. Another thing that I'm going to talk about today are minerals. Minerals are probably the rocks that you have seen that you think are rocks, but they're actually minerals. And minerals are different from rocks in that rocks are made up of minerals and sediments. So most of these things are the building blocks of rocks. But they mostly have a crystalline structure, which you can tell. This is quartz, probably the most common seen, I think. And quartz comes like this, but it also comes like this. This is the opaque one. And you can tell I got this out of the dirt because it's red. And that's the dirt that I found it in was red, and it had dyed it. And you can't get that out. And then I've got, these both are galena. It's actually lead, so this is very heavy. I know you can't see that in the video, but this is very heavy, and it forms in those sheets like that. And then here's another piece of it, but this one actually has pyrite. And that leads us to pyrite. Pyrite, of course, is fool's gold. People were fooled thinking this was gold. It is not. But it also forms in kind of those sheets, but on a much smaller scale. This is calcite. It actually grows like that. And then, of course, quartz comes in many, many different colors. This is amethyst, which is the purple quartz. And then this is gypsum. I actually found this piece out there naturally that looked like this. And gypsum is actually what they use in drywall. So everybody's seen it, they just didn't know they did. And then finally, this is mica. Mica, if you find it, you probably would think it's like little pieces of plastic. That's what it looks like, little sheets of plastic. But it actually is naturally growing like this. Most of the time that you find mica, though, you will find it in a rock like this. It's what makes it nice and shiny. But the place that I found this mica was a little bitty town in New Mexico. And there was a whole bunch of it in the ground. The whole area looked like it was made out of gold. Just a sheet, it was glittering in the sun. And the last thing that I want to talk about are fossils. Fossils, because we have a lot of limestone here in Waco, because we have all of the limestone, you are going to be able to find fossils. Fossils, most often they come in limestone. You'll find them all over the place. I have found many, many fossils, and I'm going to show you a few. Fossils usually are made when something like a shell or a plant is pressed into the formation of a rock. So it pushes the details of that shell or plant into the rock itself. And so as the rock is forming, it takes on the details of the thing that made the imprint. So you can see that shell there. And there's also one on the other side too. Or you can find fossils of the shells themselves. So that was a shell that became a rock. So is that one. And then there you can really see the details on that shell. I think this is actually shale. So in some ways, shell can show the details a little bit better than limestone, but you can find them on limestone too. And I have a couple. Well, I have one of the plants. This is like a stem of a plant once upon a time. And then my trilobite came from Lubbock, from the Science Museum, but I like to show it off. I just wish it hadn't broken. I'll have to get myself another one. And then finally, this is petrified wood. Occasionally you can find petrified wood. It's wood that's turned into rock, but you can still see the characteristics of wood. Sometimes you can find this. I think I found this here in Waco, so I'm pretty sure I've had this one a long time. Okay, so while you're out on your hunt for rocks and trying to identify what you found, we have some books here at the library that'll help you out. All of these kinds of rocks are all over Texas. One of the books that you could use is the Roadside Geology of Texas. This book is a little bit older, but it goes over all of the basics of the different rocks and the places you can find them in Texas. So if you want to be a rock hunter and go all over, this is a good source to go to. There's also minerals, rocks, and gems, although this one covers more minerals than it does rocks. We have an illustrated handbook of fossils. So if you do come across some of these, you can identify the kind of shells it was, or maybe what the organism used to be, something like that. And then we have gems and crystals. So you can maybe figure out what kind of crystal you've got